People who metal detect on beaches, in parks, etc. What's your best find? Let me know in the comments below. My friend lost his wedding ring in a lake while splashing around with his kids. We searched the area and the water was only waist deep, but we still had to dive and feel by hand, which was an exacting task. We almost gave up when we spotted a guy with a metal detector, so we asked for his help. It took him half an hour, but he did find it. My friend offered him $100. But the guy refused and just had a couple of beers with us. He said just the fun and excitement of finding something that meant a lot to someone was more than worth it. I was metal detecting a beach just outside of Tokyo and found a platinum wedding band. I was searching a different area when a local came and mimed that he lost a ring. Within about 5 minutes I got the clearest, loudest tone I have ever heard, and it happened to be the one he lost. His new wife was so happy and kept nudging him to give me something. He kept miming for drinks or cash, but I turned him down. It was amazing to be able to actually find the owner. And I had never found anything of real value up until that point. The look of relief on their faces will stay with me until the day I die. As a side note, I metal detected Singapore and a large crowd started watching. I found a super cheap vending machine quality ring and the entire group started cheering. It was absolute junk, but the vibe was awesome. I found a buried safe and it had an entire family's passports. Money clips with $700 worth of money and 2 PS Vitas, unusual to say the least. Reported it to the resort I was staying at, and it belonged to a family whose hotel room was robbed earlier that day. I'm still confused as to why it was buried. 7 days ago, back when my neighbor was into metal detecting. I was curious what he could find in my yard because I live in a house that's over 100 years old. So I told him to have it so long as I can tag along. He found some horseshoes, some various metal bolts and pins, and a few other metal objects that were pretty much just bits of scrap metal. But the coolest one was a little steel toy car that I lost when I was a kid. I used to play with it outside in the dirt all the time, and it must have gotten buried in mud when the back of our property started to flood and get swampy. Rusted badly, but it was still recognizable. Honestly, the best thing I ever found was a metal mustard gas can, and now it is in a local museum. Someone with a metal detector found my husband's high school class ring on the banks of a local river. He had lost it during a rowing event about 15 years prior. The guy contacted my husband's high school and they tracked him down. I have the ring in my dresser right now. My husband didn't care too much, but I was amazed by the work the kind stranger put in. I mailed him a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. Lol. Never found much with a hand-me-down detector as a kid. But I did end up with the strange habit of burying my toy cars with little notes, with the intention that someone like me excitedly finds them one day. Rip Grandma's backyard in Yakima. A custom white gold tennis bracelet lined with diamonds and sapphires. Literally everyone tried to rip me off for it, so eventually I removed all the stones and would sell 2 to 3 links at a time for cash like some peasant from the Bronze Age. I got a cheap metal detector for my birthday when I was a kid. To test it out, I took some of my grandpa's coins from his coin collection without him knowing and I tossed them in the yard. Never found any of them. Miss you, Grandpa. My wife does this. One time she gets out if she car to metal detect at around dusk and a lady comes up and asks her to find her engagement ring. 0.45 minutes late she finds it. Lady Venmos her $1. I found an ox shoe on a road in the woods near my parents' house that is documented as having been used prior to the Civil War. There are several home sites in the area as well. Other finds in the road have included tobacco tins, dog collar, and a 1942 quarter. I tried out my metal detector a few years ago on our last day in a national forest. The best we could find is a pendant that said, "I'm a Catholic. If in an emergency, call a priest." As a kid, a handful of loose change, which a rude park employee confiscated. Apparently the rules against looting historical sites applied to coins I found in the parking lot. I pick up litter. My best is an enormous floppy dildo with grass stuck all over it. Some teenagers in a parking lot leered at me and I picked it out of my bag with my grabber and they were like, gross. No way. And dipped out. So my brothers had just purchased these super cool metal detectors and my son, who was 6 at the time, begged and begged to use it. Please Uncle Dave, please can I use it? And they got so fed up they handed it to him and told him to be careful with it. Like 12 seconds in he exclaims that, "There's $1 right here," and starts digging. About 1.5 feet later he runs up to us with a soggy, muddy, wet, dirty dollar bill. We lost our minds laughing at that for a while. Still have no clue how it happened. A metal detecting guy called me about 10 years ago from the East Coast in the woods. He had found a class of 1946 high school ring with initials. He called the school and tracked it down to my mom. She thinks she lost it horseback riding. We gladly gave the guy a finder's fee, and she put it back on her finger 70 years after she lost it. I found a small silver ring I only detected for about a month before giving up the hobby. I figured out that the best ways to be successful is to either find a place with some history that's remained undisturbed or dig every hit. I didn't have access to the former and there's just too much trash out there for the latter to be any fun. Just wasn't for me. I don't metal detect, but I enjoy following our metal detecting to see what people find. When I was a kid in Santa Barbara, we were visiting the site of the original Presidio. They were still excavating parts of the site looking for artifacts. I looked down and picked up a gold decorative button from a Spanish military uniform. I showed to my teacher, but everyone said it was nothing. I think they took it from me. No idea what actually happened to it. Growing up with a library of fantasy novels beneath my bed gave me the impression that vast caches of gold and jewels were stashed all throughout the world, and that a dedicated adventurer need only have the right tools to find them. While the harsh realities of adult life dimmed that perspective a little bit, I've always loved the idea that I could find buried treasure with very little effort. So when my mother asked me what I wanted for my 22nd birthday, I requested a metal detector. She wasted no time in teasing me about that decision, but she bought it for me nonetheless. The day that it arrived, I got a group of friends together and we all went down to the beach, intent on finding a fortune hidden just beneath the sand. Right away, we discovered that San Francisco's western shore was absolutely covered with metallic objects. Within 10 minutes of our arrival, my metal detector had helped us locate a corroded hunk of something which might have been a battery at one point, and a generous handful's worth of rusty nails. In fact, those latter items were so plentiful that we decided they were actually the larval form of a species which we dubbed sandworms. It was easier than accepting that the beach was a case of tetanus waiting to happen. I guess we stayed out there for a few hours, until well after the sun had set. And as anyone who has been there can tell you, nightfall is when San Francisco's beaches become prime locations for bonfires. Our quest had been largely fruitless by that point, but my friends and I reasoned that if we waited long enough, we might be able to find valuable trinkets, such as jewelry and the like, that drunken revelers had dropped. After another hour or so had passed, we made sure that the metal detector was working and set off on our next sweep. Now, I should mention here that my friends and I had a habit of dressing in dark clothes at the time, and as a result, we weren't particularly surprised when very few people noticed us making our way between pyres. This had the unintended side effect of making us seem like we were trying to be sneaky, which was exactly the wrong impression to give when as we walked up to one location and encountered a topless girl wrestling with one of her male friends. They were laughing uproariously as they rolled around in the sand, oblivious to the world around them. Truth be told, if we'd just kept walking, I'm sure that my friends and I would have passed by completely unnoticed. Unfortunately, my metal detector chose that precise moment to alert us to the presence of yet another sand worm. The eager beeping noise caught the attention of the topless girl and her wrestling partner. They rolled off each other, then stared up at me with wide-eyed horror, clearly embarrassed, and perhaps a little bit scared at having been caught in such a compromising position by a group of black-clad strangers. Hi, I said, nervously clearing my throat. I glanced down at my metal detector. Have you guys seen any gold coins? They hadn't. TL. Doctor. I searched for treasure on a San Franciscan beach, but I only found a chest. Not me post but my employee at work. This guy just loves going to the beach and metal detecting. Spends his day baking in the sun and just enjoying the fresh air. Absolutely loves it and talks about it constantly. So I posed this same question to him and he said, "Man, that's tough. I'll bring my box." So he brings a cigar box with his favorite finds and he's got some pretty neat stuff, but nestled in the corner of the box is a diamond-encrusted bracelet. Oh yeah, those are real and the metal's platinum. Thing's worth a mint and he's like, no big deal. It's the hunt that's worth it. I have a machete that we pulled out of a green belt when I was like 6. My grandpa and I found it, and he showed me to remove the rust, steal wool and grind it all off. Then he showed me how to sharpen it and care for it. He's been gone for 17 years and I'm past 30. But that machete is still hung up on my wall. Not metal detecting but was snorkeling about 25 yards off the coast in Lake Tahoe in front of the Hyatt. Found a bunch of sunglasses but also this guy's wallet. No cash in it, but found him on Facebook and messaged him. He responded right away, thanking me more so for the peace of mind of what happened to it. A year earlier he was at the Hyatt bar and got his wallet stolen when he wasn't looking. Said there was over $300 in there, which sounds like the thief stole the cash and threw the wallet into the lake as far as he could. A belt buckle. Pure silver. It was lost during the police investigation into the body within it. When I was a teen I found a perfectly round metal ball about the size of a large grapefruit at a local beach. Turns out it was a cannonball and now sits in a local museum. My family's house is in Selçuk, Izmir. While building the house, they found so many ruins. Museum didn't even take them all and left some behind. Mom has a column head as a planter at her house. Kids find antique figurines, rings etc. all the time. There are codes they can dig only some percentage etc. I found some nipple rings once. The bloke wasn't too stoked but they looked cool. I like saving people's feet from fishhooks on the beach. Not my find but I think it kinda fits. I got married on the beach and my brother had the ring and he dropped it in the sand and we couldn't find it anywhere. Everyone was panicking. About 5 minutes before the start some guy is just walking along the beach metal detecting and my mom runs over to him and gets his help to find the ring just in the nick of time and saved the day. I found a coin from 1683 on my first metal detecting session a few months ago. 2 stories. A friend, whom I'll call Rose, and I were fucking around with Rose's aunt's metal detector. We heard the beep beep noise get hella loud. Quick. It's been a few years. I don't remember what it does. Anyways, we started digging and we found a whole ass dog collar. The dog's name was Bucky, if you were wondering. This one wasn't me but my friend Rosie. I heard about it the next day because she thought it was cool. She was using the metal detector and found, like, 4 shovels. It was weird because they were all near each other and 3 were new looking but 1 was, like, really old looking. Bonus. One time Rose found 6 forks melted together. I don't know how that even happened. Edit. A letter. My own wedding ring. I terms of monetary value. At a beach I once dug up a white gold chain with a cross that I sold to a gold shop for $250. The find essentially covered the cost of the detector. However, you might want to ask about people's strange finds. For example, I've come across chewed up dog collars, a few hideouts, and a large knife caked with dried blood. My dad used a metal detector on a beach in Suffolk, England. He had a very clear signal, so started digging. Every time he checked, the same signal came through, so deeper he went. After a while someone else took over but lost the signal, so my dad had to show them how to use the device properly. It was soon discovered that only my dad could get the signal. It was then quickly realized that the metal being detected wasn't in the hole but was the metal in my dad's leg that was put there when he had a motorbike crash. People who metal detect on beaches, in parks, etc. What's your best find? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more.